Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. And so I finally watched Squid Game. I know, this is really late, and I'm probably one of the few people in the world who hasn't seen it, but I finally did take the time to watch this, and wow, I got a lot to say about it. And so Squid Game is basically a survival type game where contestants go in and they risk their lives for a lot of money. And so if you watch other types of movies or shows in this genre, like maybe Battle Royale, Alice in Borderland, or maybe here in the United States, you'll watch something like The Hunger Games, then it's something very similar to that. And at least for me, that's not one of my favorite type of genres to watch. That's why I was kind of hesitant to watch this. But being that it is South Korean entertainment, which is my favorite place for entertainment, I had to watch it. And so the general story is we have this guy named Gi-hun, and he's a guy who's basically just out of luck. Out of money. He is divorced from his wife, trying to get custody of his daughter. His mom's sick, and he has a lot of gambling debt, so he's not in a good place. But then later on, we meet a lot of other people who are in similar situations, specifically his best friend Sang-woo, but we also meet this pickpocket girl named Sae-byuk, and also a cop named Jung Ho, and many, many other people who are in really bad financial shape. And because of that, they get this weird invitation to this thing called Squid Game through a card. And also, at least in Gi-hun's case, he actually had to play a game. And then he got the card, and now he's actually in this whole survival game. And within this, there's about 456 people, with Gi-hun being number 456. And once they get in there, they meet many, many more people. Specifically, this old man, a thug, this kind of crazy woman, and also an immigrant, and many, many other people. And then we have our survival games, where you're playing childhood games, at least in South Korean childhood games. And if you make it, then you potentially could win 45 billion won, or about $38 million. And if you don't, well, you die. And so that is the general story of Squid Game. Now, getting into the thing that I absolutely love about this show is the story. Now, this actual story was written by dong-hyuk, but he also directed this entire series. And I got to tell you, he did a masterclass job. Because I'm definitely not a fan of these type of shows or movies. But from the very first episode, I was hooked. And once the game started with red light, green light, I was already like, okay, this is going to be something very different. And with each game, things just get a lot more hectic, more tension, and the type of games that they have, they're so creative. And just to give you an example, tug of war is in here. But it's a tug of war that you probably have never seen before. And I absolutely love the way in which the story really takes these games and make it their own characters. They're so interesting, they're so unique, and there's so much on the line. And there's never a chance where I would say you feel comfortable and rested. And at the same time, as the story is evolving, many other things around this world that he's built evolves as well. And I absolutely loved every minute of it. And then the second thing that I absolutely have to praise about this series are the characters. Everybody from the main characters, the side characters, supporting characters, they're also rich, detailed, multi-layered. There's never a moment when I was watching this where I thought these were cookie cutter characters. Even the throwaway characters, there's just so much emphasis put into these characters that I find I myself was a character in this show. And I would say in a lot of ways, the actual games itself, that is a character that's interacting with all these other characters in the story. And as you are going from episode through each episode, these characters evolve. Not only do you learn more about their backstory, but you also learn more about them as a person. And that is so fascinating. And since they're in this environment that's so dangerous, filled with tension, and they could actually lose their life at any moment, that really affects them as a character, and then it affects you as a viewer. And to go along with these really detailed characters is the superb acting. Everybody on this show just gives an A-class performance. And a lot of times when you're watching this, you'll notice a lot of actresses and actresses that you have seen in other movies and shows. But at the same time, characters like Sae-byuk, who's played by a first-time actress, is absolutely incredible. I really felt like the acting here really brings it to a whole nother level because there's so many different emotions. There's so many ways in which their personality has to be brought out, and all of the acting here just brings it out to another level. And I absolutely appreciated the level of acting that was actually brought here on this show. Another aspect of Squid Game that is just excellent is the production quality. Now, this is actually funded by Netflix, but the actual company who did this is Siren Pictures, and they definitely delivered. Everything from the set designs, the costumes, the way the colors look, the music, everything there is perfect, and it fits the entire story, it fits the games, and it even fits the characters. And I really love the way that they did the color and costume design, the shapes, because all of them mean something. There's so many details on this show, and that once you watch it, you might not notice it, but if you go back and watch it again after seeing everything, you see all of these elements that were put in here in production actually had a reason and a purpose. And once again, it really elevates the show to another level, and it also allows you to appreciate these really small details. And I think a lot of people, after watching the show, they're probably going to have this as their Halloween costume every single year, because that's how memorable the overall production quality is. And so if you are that type of person who enjoys that, you would not be disappointed with this. And to go along with the entire production quality is this world building. The world that surrounds this is just so intricate and vast, and at the same time we're seeing one small part of this. So as you're watching the show, you realize that there's many different layers to this world as well, and by the end of the series, I wanted to see more. I wanted to see where the characters would go, how is this world built, who are all the players, and why is it going on, and what's the entire purpose? Even though the show kind of mentions that, there's so many ways in which this could go. And another thing that I think the world building did so well is that it allows you to make your own interpretations. Because as you're watching this, you're going to get a lot out of it, and it goes back to the story that was written. You could take a lot of things about society, classism, men and women, family, relationships. There's just a lot of things put into this world, and it's one that I'll be happy to go back into. And now the final major thing that I really enjoyed about this show is that it's really a story in the end about humans, about people, the nature of people whenever they're put in these situations. And then you have to think to yourself, what would you do as a person? And I really do appreciate the fact that Hwang Dong-hyuk, the way he wrote it in a very realistic way. Because if I was actually in those positions, even though those decisions that were made in a lot of cases were absolutely horrible, you would probably make those same decisions. And that's one thing that the show does so well, because it puts you in the place of that. And it makes you think about all the action that you would or you would not take, and also kind of question what is human nature. And that's probably the best thing out of the show, besides the story and the characters, is that it actually makes you think about that even after the show is done. For serious YouTubers, check out TubeBuddy, the premier tool news at geekoutdoors.com. Get more done today by checking out the affiliate link in the description area below. Now, getting to some potential negatives of this series, I really wouldn't say the first season is where the negative's going to be. I'm really going to be thinking any future potential seasons. Because this show did so many things at such a high level, and since it was basically a phenomenon of a show all around the world, I don't think they're going to be able to recapture that type of magic again. However, I will say that there is a lot here that's been established, so even though the future seasons might not be as surprising, it definitely can be very in-depth and layered, much like everything that we have here with the story, characters, and the world that they built. And so at least that's my hope. And so those are my thoughts on Squid Game. This is an absolutely excellent series that you should watch. And it's a series that's probably going to keep you thinking over and over again, and probably making you second guess playing a game with other people. And so if you actually had any thoughts on this, be sure to leave that in the comments area below. And if you did want to see more of my Korean entertainment and show reviews, I do have an entire playlist. I'll leave that in the description area as well. So as always, if you did get value out of these videos, be sure to share, like, and subscribe. And if you're a creative geek like me, and you want to get exclusive access to more content that I don't put out here publicly on my YouTube channel, then join my Gold Content Creators group, where you're going to get content like this and more for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Gold Content Creators group.